Hello, I'm Dr. Stephen Myers, and today I want to talk about why do atheists become Christians and Christians become atheists. I was inspired to do this from a comment that someone left on one of the videos about he was in an atheist country and he became a Christian. And so I wondered, why do some become Christians and some become atheists? And we want to look at some causes and examples. First, I want to look at why some atheists become Christians. There's a personal experience or transformation, a life crisis or trauma. It may be an illness, an addiction, a loss, depression, where they can find comfort or hope in faith. And then there's mystical or spiritual encounter, where they're having visions, dreams, powerful spiritual experiences that lead them to belief. And we look at life, some become disillusioned with science. They may be working in the field of science. I remember one story of a guy who worked on a team, and they were solving a problem, and they got their results, and they wrote up an article and submitted it for peer review. And the head of the committee there tabled it till his team could see if this was true. They ran their experiment, and then they published their results, while the chairman of the committee kept this other paper from being published and peer-reviewed, and he got all the glory. But it was really this other group that came up and solved the problem, but it was tabled by the chairman. And so we can see other events like that, and that caused, I guess, one cause for becoming a Christian turned into that, because of the way science was working there. It wasn't in their favor. And that happens a lot. Sometimes scientists make up their own data in schools and universities. You can't really say too much until you get tenured. And once you reach that, you can say and mainly do things and not worry about getting fired. But before that, you have to sort of keep quiet about any wild views or anything like that, because you want to, and you have to keep publishing or you perish. And so some people don't like the rat race of their work in science or whatever it is, whatever job they have, and they seeking something more than just a 9-to-5 job, and they turn to Christianity for that experience. Then there is intellectual exploration, philosophical arguments. Some find the case for theism. Why do we have moral laws? And there's the fine-tuning of the universe. Hugh Ross writes a lot about this. The whole universe is fine-tuned for life. And there's the cosmological argument. There must be someone who started it all. A prime mover, first cause. And some see these arguments and turn to Christ or turn to theism, as Anthony Flew did with the fine-tuning of the universe. And then others, there's historical studies, convert after studying church history, Christianity. Of course, that's a double-edged sword. You can find some great things that Christians do, but you can also find some terrible, terrible things that Christianity has done. And then there's the study of the resurrection and life of Jesus, being convinced it must be true. This happened to Lee Strobel and C.S. Lewis. in their intellectual pursuits. Another reason atheists become Christians is the relational influence. The Christian community. You might have a very positive experience with kind, loving, generous Christians that may rethink your stance. For about 10 years, I lived in, worked there in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where there's a lot of Amish. And there's people coming and they are amazed at the Amish and they wish, whoa, I wish I could be Amish because they don't have all the cares and worries of 9 to 5 and getting things done, all these pressures of life, and they have the simple life. Well, it may not be that simple after all. There's an interesting documentary on it called The Sins of the Amish. I think you can see it on Prime, Peacock, and others. The Sins of the Amish is quite illuminating. And if you do something wrong, don't follow the rules, you could be shunned. And there's another YouTube, Cults to Consciousness. And she interviews a number of people that came out of being Amish and what was like being Amish. And I'll put links to these below. Then there's marriage or friendship. A lot of people, you're influenced by your spouse or your friends or mentors. And there were some key people that came into my life that changed my direction and thinking in life. And I hope to do a whole video about the changes that happened in my life. Now I change to why do some Christians become atheists? And it could be a long spectrum here. Some fundamentalists become evangelical, and some evangelicals become liberal Christians, and some liberal Christians become agnostics or atheists. And it all varies along the spectrum here. I was an independent, fundamentalist, Baptist Christian and raised that way. And I sort of became evangelical, more liberal Christian, and maybe sometimes agnostic or atheist some days. And it's the intellectual doubts, and some of this, the problem of evil and suffering. If a God is good and all-powerful, why is there so much suffering? And this is one of the key things that persuaded Bart Ehrman to become an agnostic. And then we have science versus faith, science and the Bible. And some feel that modern science contradicts the key Christian teachings, like evolution, the Big Bang versus Genesis. And I would say the Bible is not a science book. And that's how I started out. I was a young earth creationist. I was gung-ho about this. I remember reading a book about science in the Bible, how it talks about the circle of the earth in the Bible. It talks about he hangeth the earth upon nothing. I thought, wow, the Bible has amazing science in it. And I was hooked on that until I went to seminary and studied more. And you can see on here on the right that their view of the earth was like a flat disc with a dome, arching dome over it that was a solid firmament with the waters below, above, and below. And not what, and it's not a modern science like we think today, but that was what they thought in ancient times. And I do a whole video about this, from becoming a young earth creationist to an old earth creationist to God can use evolution. And then there's Bible difficulties, discrepancies. You have the four Gospels and they don't all agree. Of course, people try to make them agree. But if you look at them closely, there's 4 different views of Jesus here. You have the book of Mark. It doesn't start out with a virgin birth at all. That didn't seem to be important to him at all. And so there are these discrepancies. There's violence. God commands genocide of nations for Israel to take over the Holy Land. You have slavery there in the Bible and many other things that lead to doubt. Chris Corthwaite, probably pronounced his name wrong, but he has done some very interesting videos on YouTube. There's Christianity's Dirty Secret, Why Conservatives Lose Their Faith in Seminary. The devil, I say, is in the details, if you look closely at the details. And then he also has one on 3 Bible facts that broke my faith in seminary and why I'm back. I'll put links to that below. This has led a number of Christians to become liberal Christians or even agnostic or atheists. Again, with why Christians become atheists, there's negative religious experiences. The church hurts you or harms you in some way. There's physical abuse, sexual abuse, hypocrisy, legalism, all these laws to follow, manipulation in the religious settings. And here I have my graduation in 1981 from Temple Baptist Theological Seminary, part of Tennessee Temple University, a very fundamentalist organization. And I'm getting my MDiv from Dr. Lee Robertson there, who was the chancellor over everything. And they had very strict views, legalism there, I would say. And I remember the dean of students coming to, before chapel, coming to the podium and saying, we saw someone, couple kiss last night, and we need you to report after chapel service immediately to my office. Of course, any public display of affection is forbidden. This is down south here. No kissing publicly, no holding hands. Even if you're married, you're not allowed to hold hands in public. And so after the service, I heard there was about 50 couples lined outside his office to confess that they had kissed. The thing was, the dean of students here was caught, that's a few years later, in adultery. He was running around with the chancellor's secretary. So much hypocrisy, legalism that can lead to very negative experiences and turning away, and very judgmental. You have to get people saved, and very preaching against that, negative preaching. You've got to get souls saved or they're going to burn in hell. And then there's for women, I went down south, wearing pants were forbidden. That was like a mortal sin. You would burn in hell if you were a woman and you put on pants, trying to become a man. And so you'd be kicked out of the university if you did that. And so many other rules and regulations. And that can turn a lot of people away. There are some people, they go right along with it and happy with fundamentalism. But that was not my experience. And And then there's deconstruction, unraveling the beliefs after realizing they were based on poor teaching or shallow foundations. Another reason why Christians become atheists, or they may just swing to more evangelical or liberal Christianity, cultural and emotional shifts. The desire for autonomy. Some leave Christianity to live without religious morals, where you couldn't do anything. You couldn't go to movies. You couldn't dance. You couldn't smoke. You couldn't chew. You couldn't do a whole lot of other things. And then changing social views, disagreement with Christian stances on sexuality, gender, politics. Can be troubling. And the loss of emotional connection. Faith stops feeling real, relevant, or comforting. So see, these are some of the reasons Christians become atheists. Now, it's interesting to note that there are common shared themes here between atheists becoming Christians and Christians becoming atheists. Both are searching for the truth. Whether you're converting or deconverting, they sincerely want to find the truth. Then there's the influence of community, relationships, often shape or shake belief. It's more than just pure logic. And there's many that have come into my life that have changed my view on things. And then there's the experience of dissonance, feeling a deep mismatch between one's belief and the lived reality that can push people to change. And I want to look at some people that were atheists who became Christians. One of the famous ones is C.S. Lewis. He was raised in a Christian home, but he became an atheist as a teenager, but then returned to Christianity in his 30s. And he was greatly influenced by his friend J.R.R. Tolkien. And he's one the famous writing The Lord of the Rings, and found that moral and philosophy case for Christianity compelling. And his most famous quote here, I gave in. I admitted that God was God, and perhaps the most dejected and reluctant convert in all of England. And some of his most famous books, Mere Christianity, The Problem of Pain, one of the most influential Christian apologists of his time. Then you have Lee Strobel, hard-nosed journalist and legal editor of the Chicago Tribune, self-proclaimed atheist. His wife became a Christian, and so he decided to investigate Christianity to disprove it, and was convinced by historical and legal evidence for the resurrection of Jesus Christ. You have the four Gospels and others as witnesses to the resurrection. And his most famous writings, The Case for Christ, and became a leading evangelical apologist. Another atheist who became a Christian is Francis Collins, and he's the famous geneticist who helped with mapping out our DNA. He was brilliant and led the Human Genome Project, raised without religion and identified as an atheist. And as a medical student, he encountered all the patients with strong faith and began exploring that. He was influenced by C.S. Lewis and the philosophical questions like the origin of moral law. His most famous work is The Language of God, and that God uses evolution. And he's one of the leading voices in trying to reconcile science and faith. That's the way God works, is through evolution. Another atheist who became a Christian was Alistair McGrath. He was a former atheist and scientist from Belfast. He became a Christian while studying science at Oxford. He came to see that Christianity as intellectually and morally compelling. And he wrote a number of books. One is writing against New Atheism. And others are the Dawkins Delusion. And so he became a Christian. And now I want to change and switch gears to Christians who became atheists or agnostics. Bart Ehrman, he was an evangelical Christian. He went to Wheaton College, the school of Billy Graham support. And he became a Bible scholar. And he went to Princeton Seminary, and after studying all the manuscripts, he became an agnostic from his years of study. He found problems in the biblical manuscripts and problems of evil overwhelming. Why? And the famous quote here is, "If there is an all-powerful and loving God, why is there so much pain and misery in the world today?" And one of the famous books is Misquoting Jesus and God's Problem. And I have like a similar experience. We're born in 1955, and so right now I'm 70 years old. I was independent fundamentalist Baptist, going to independent fundamentalist Baptist schools and even seminary, and became more and more liberal. And on the right here we have a lot of courses that he has, the great courses. When I discovered that, I found out a number that he has done and teaches. The one, How Jesus Became God, that was a very interesting one, seeing how that happened. And the great courses, there's many other great courses that are also excellent. And then Bart Ehrman has his own online short courses and webinars that he offers at bartehrman.com. And I have some of these. And they have like once a year conferences that are interesting as well. So similar experience to Bart Ehrman, who became an agnostic. Another Christian who became an atheist was Dan Barker. He was a former evangelical preacher and Christian songwriter. And he left Christianity in the 1980s. There was a gradual erosion of faith through theological and philosophical questioning. And his famous work is Godless: How an Evangelical Preacher Became One of America's Leading Atheists. He's co-president of the Freedom from Religion Foundation. Another Christian who became an agnostic was Charles Templeton. He was a close friend of Billy Graham and was a leading evangelist in the 1940s. And he wanted to get more training, so he attended Princeton Theological Seminary, where he learned all these things about biblical criticism and the Bible, and he abandoned the faith and declared himself an agnostic. He struggled with the Bible's treatment of science, suffering, and doubt. And his famous work is Farewell to God. And his deconversion deeply affected the evangelical world. And he has a foundation, a last I knew, is still here in Philadelphia, where I am. And he'll give out grants to groups and organizations who want to study the Bible and science and the interplay of that and studying about this. Here's a quick summary chart here. We have a number of atheists turning into Christians. We have C.S. Lewis, Lee Strobel with the resurrection evidence, Francis Collins, Scientific Wonder, Alistair McGrath, A Rational Coherence of Christianity, all turning from atheism to Christianity. And they're in the field. It should be interesting to point out that none of them had a field experience or teaching in seminary of biblical criticism and the manuscripts and other evidence. That was not their field of study, and so they didn't see this evidence here about the Bible. And it's all about your experiences, events, people you meet. You could become an atheist, become a Christian, and vice versa. And with Bart Ehrman, also the biblical criticism and problem of evil, and that was his field, biblical scholarship. And then Dan Barker becoming an atheist, doubts, Charles Templeton, science versus the Bible and suffering. And then Anthony Flew, he was an atheist, but the fine-tuning argument of the universe convinced him to be a deist, at least to believe in God. And so we can see people on both sides here, switching from one to the other. And I think one of the key things is a lack of in-depth study of biblical criticism and the original languages for atheists turning to Christianity. And also could be just emotional experience. The churches, if you go into the churches, if you have a great musical program, that'll draw people. You have a charismatic preacher. And you can draw lots of a crowd of people. And so some people turn to that, and it's a spectrum. Some might just from fundamentalism go to evangelical Christianity, or to liberalism, and some go all the way to extreme, from one extreme to the other, and vice versa. So there's a lot of different reasons, events, people in their lives, teaching, learning about these things that make people go from atheist to Christian, or from Christian to agnostic. So there's a lot of different reasons that people do this. And to sum it up here, the shared themes of both of them, no matter who you are, you're searching for meaning. You're searching for the truth. Whether you're converting to Christianity or deconverting, most are sincerely searching for what is truth. There's the influence of the community that often shape or shake belief, and it's not just pure logic. Very influential people that have come into your life. Experience of dissonance, a feeling of deep mismatch between one's belief and how you live. And I already said a lot of this is the devil is in the details. a lack of study in biblical criticism, original languages, that make many Christians become more liberal. I have writings are posted on academia.edu. I have a paper on Bible and Science, Genesis 1. I have other videos covering my journey from old Earth creationists, from young Earth creationists to old Earth creationists, and even further. And I have a website, BibleandScience.com. I'll put a number of links below of things that I mentioned before that you can easily click on. And be sure to subscribe, ring the bell, because more movies and videos are on the way. Thank you for watching.